Well, hello there, my fellow American. Now, by this point, I can garner that you probably watched a Clueless guide or two about the Premier League, but with the NFL season in full swing, the NBA just getting back, there's a lot of sports ball to keep track of. So I thought, why not, for the remainder of the Premier League season, I'll go ahead and just give you guys a monthly update on what's been going on in the big league across the pond. Show you how the table's looking, who's in form, who's shit, the big storylines going on, the drama, and basically just regale you about how Erling Haaland is the actual reincarnation of Jesus, just in football boots. Yeah. That's what they call soccer cleats over there. I don't know why either. But anyway, let's do this. Welcome to a Clueless Americans recap of October in the Premier League. But first, I gotta pay some bills. This video is sponsored by Macarena. Macarena is a game where teams of giant robots blow each other up. What's not to love? And right now, it's even more exciting because Brazil's number 10 is coming to the game. Yes, that's right. Neymar Jr. is in the game as a limited edition mech pilot. And you can get it for free just by playing. And what's insane is that Neymar Jr. is the most powerful pilot in the game. First, he massively boosts your damage from missile weapons and assault weapons by 35%. And he's the only pilot in the game that boosts 2 different weapon types, which is pretty OP if you ask me. And on top of that, he's also the only pilot in the game with a special perk, which fits him to a T. The Sprinter perk allows your mech to sprint for longer while also reducing its cooldown. Combine all this, and that makes Neymar Jr. the strongest pilot in the game right now. And you can get him for free. Just play Macarena on 7 different days between October 6th and December 18th. And he's yours. It's super easy to do, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on him. And if that's not spicy enough for you, go ahead and use my personal link down below or scan my QR code over here and to get an amateur crate, 300 A coins, and a pulse cannon 4 for an even bigger head start in the game. And if you're quick, you can add me to your friends, and maybe we can play some matches together on mobile or PC. Thanks to Macarena for sponsoring this video. Now back to the show. But first off, let's start off with the top of the table and just work our way down. Yeah, sound good? All right. And surprisingly, to pretty much everyone, 2 months into the season, and Arsenal are still atop of the league.
Hey, that's pretty good.
So yeah, maybe me and a lot of people were wrong about Arsenal being real title contenders this year. Despite Erling Haaland being the second coming of Ronaldo, they've managed to stay in front of the Man City juggernaut. They kicked off October with a lovely derby win over bitter rival Spurs. It was a spicy bout as always. You always love a red card in a derby. Who doesn't? And they followed that up with a 3-2 win over Liverpool, and then a 1-0 victory over Leeds, a 1-1 draw over Southampton, before rounding out the month by battering bottom of the table Nottingham Forest 5-0, which for those counting makes 4 wins and 1 draw in the spookiest month of the year. Now let's just be clear, any other year, this would be Arsenal's year. They've been glorious, goddamn near flawless since the start of the season. And this is the best Arsenal team in 15 years. They're young, they're improving every match, and their sole loss on the season, they were the better team for the majority of that match. From the front to the back, everyone is in excellent form. Well, save for Gabriel Jesus, whose goal scoring has slowed to a crawl in this past month, but their wingers, Saka and Martinelli, have picked up the slack, especially Martinelli. And I'm not talking about the apple cider. This young Brazilian looks shot out of a cannon every time he attacks. The man is shocking on. Teams don't even know what hit them until after he scored. And then Martin Odegaard is probably the second best playmaker in the league right now. He's just running the show. He looks like a young CP3 in cleats. Then you got Thomas Partey scoring worldies from the midfield. And their new center back, Saliba, is not making opponents in his own third. Stop it. Stop. Everything is coming up Millhouse for Arsenal right now. This has been a fair tale season so far. Arteta's got them believing, and the fans are head over heels in love with this squad. And all this makes me kind of sad. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy for Arsenal fans, but there's a true dark side to them being so sensational this season. And that is, it has made Arsenal fan TV boring. There, I said it. I never thought I'd utter these words, but yes, Arsenal fan TV is boring now. There's no more temper tantrums, no more tears of loserdom, just smiles and sunshine. Ugh. Alright, I'm happy for the long-tortured fans, okay? Don't get on my case, Arsenal fan. But this is not the Arsenal fan TV I know and love. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. I'll stay patient. Let Arsenal fans get their hopes up. Let them start truly believing that they can win the Premier League this year. So, when Manchester City eventually pips them to the title on the final day of the season, the devastation on Arsenal fan TV will be at levels unseen in a century. Not even a metric ton of Zola will be able to cure the depression given to Arsenal fans across the world. And I cannot wait to see it. And Arsenal fan, you know it's coming. You know it's... Alright, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I'm going to hell. Alright, moving on to the team that is probably going to win the Premier League this year. But there's a second on the table, and that's Manchester City. Now, Man City kicked off the month with the Manchester Derby. And, yeah, as a Manchester United fan, that shit was rough, man. We got our shit pushed in deep. like the match was over before the tourists could even find their seats at the Etihad. Sir Alex Ferguson's expression in the crowd said it all. With Erling Haaland and Phil Foden scoring hat tricks against their crosstown rivals, the game couldn't have gone any better for these oil money bastards. At this point, this team is unfair, okay? KDB and Erling Haaland are the two best players in the league. Arguably, maybe the two best players in the world right now. They have a far deeper squad than Arsenal, and it seems all but inevitable that they will win the league title again this year. They continue to decimate everyone in their path this month, but they did suffer their first loss of the season to Liverpool, which seems like a bizarre anomaly given Liverpool's domestic form this year. More on them in a minute. Now, this loss was of great importance, not only because it kept Arsenal at the top of the league, but also because it meant that there will be no invincible season for Manchester City. Which, boo-hoo! I'm sure everyone feels sorry for you, Man City fan. You'll just have to settle for Erling Haaland shattering the single-season goal record before his prefrontal cortex is fully formed. The big Norwegian salmon is already up to 17 goals in the Premier League, which is halfway to the all-time single-season goal record of 34. And it's only been 12 matches. There are 26 matches left for him to obliterate this record into a new stratosphere. It's hard to find analogies in American sports to what this kid is doing right now. I guess the closest is Patrick Mahomes throwing for 50 touchdowns in his first real season as a starter, but to truly equate it to Haaland, Mahomes would have needed to throw for an absurd 75 touchdowns in that season. I do not use this term lightly when I say that this kid is a fucking genius when it comes to scoring goals. The types of goals that he has showcased in this season alone, the instincts, confidence, positioning, strength, speed, agility, power, and skill. I do not have enough superlatives to describe how perfect this man is at putting a ball into the back of a net. You can make an argument that he is the best player in the world right now at the age of 22. We've not seen a prodigy like this since Lionel Messi won the Ballon d'Or at age 22, and Haaland might just duplicate that this year. The only thing that has stopped him recently is he picked up an ankle injury. Nothing too crazy, but he is going to miss a couple games. But with the long World Cup break coming up, which he's not going to participate in because Norway didn't qualify, he's going to have plenty of time to not only heal up, but this baby monster will have the freshest legs in the Premier League to terrorize burnt-out defenders all season long after the World Cup. Even if you are a casual footy fan, or not even a fan at all, I would implore you to just watch this one guy play this season. And this pains me personally. This pains my soul because I'm a Manchester United fan. But I'm reasonable enough to recognize when something special is happening. And it's undeniable at this point. What we are seeing from Haaland this season is historic greatness. Something that will be remembered forever. So I say simply, even to fans of rival teams and hate Man City for all the oil money that they have, I would say just put that all aside for a little bit because what we are seeing might never be seen again in your lifetime. So enjoy it in real time as it happens. And now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go vomit into a toilet violently. Now, third on the table are the Tottenham burglars. Yes, it's not been a great month for Spurs. We started off the month with a loss in the London derby, never a good thing. And then they were held down and completely dominated by a rejuvenated Manchester United squad, and then followed that up by losing a tight match up against Newcastle. Now, they're still third because they won their other 3 matches of the month, but some are starting to question if Conte has been found out. There are limitations to Conte's system, which tends to be rigid and relies on having clear instructions and actions that can be repeated over and over again. While this simplifies things for the players, but also makes his tactics somewhat predictable, which savvy managers have been able to exploit this month. But really, I don't think this team should panic just yet. They still sit third in the league, and while you can blame some of this on Conte, but I think a lot of the squad's issues can come down to injuries. Might I remind you, this is one of the most fixture-congested months in the history of the Premier League due to the World Cup being in November. And it didn't help that Richarlison and Kulusevski have been out for most of the month, and that in turn has blunted a lot of their offensive creativity and dynamism. And then they missed Holberg and Romero for spots during the month, and that made their stalwart defense a little bit more leakier in October. But all things considered, they finished top of their group in the Champions League, and if they can get healthy over the World Cup break, I see an easy path to top 4 for this club, which would be a little bit disappointing when you consider how they were labeled as a dark horse to win the league at the start of the season. But alright, Arsenal's having a miracle season, and Manchester City got fucking Erling Haaland, so what are you gonna do? But hey, Spurs gonna Spurs, I guess. And now for maybe the biggest surprise team of the season, even maybe more than Arsenal, because I don't think anyone had freaking Newcastle making top 4, but that is where they are on the table right now. And this is no fluke either. Newcastle are fucking good now. Eddie Howe has got them believing, and his pressing tactics has Newcastle's metrics up there with the big boys. Now let's call a spade here. They have spent a lot of money over the past couple of windows, but I would say this top 4 placement is mostly coming down to the improvement of the players they already had. And some weird tweets. Joelinton, who came in as a striker, they've often played him as a midfielder, and he's been outstanding there. But the big story at the moment is the young Paraguayan they bought from the MLS, Almiron. Now, this kid was fucking dreadful last year. I think it was like 1 goal the entire season. So much so that Manchester City's new boy, Jack Grealish, called him out at the end of the season. Well, Jack, you better eat those words because Almiron can't stop scoring absolute worldies at the moment. He has been lighting up the tune with his ear-to-ear smile and goals that belong in a modern art museum. The degree of difficulty on some of these shots, you would think this guy's part Asian on how quickly he can calculate the trajectory on some of these beauties. And this is all before the big dick Saudi money comes in and buys Mbappe for them. I cannot stress this enough. They weren't supposed to be this good this quickly. They're far ahead of schedule. And for all the hipsters in America who want to bandwagon the cool team, Newcastle might be the ultimate hipster team for you. For one, their kit's got a retro look to them, while also having history from way back when. And their sponsor for the longest time was Newcastle Beer, a dream retro shirt that any hipster would love to wear, even if they weren't into footy. And oh, it's only going to get better. Make no mistake, in 10 years from now, they very well could be the next Manchester City. Because the Saudis, they have more money than God. Remember, these are the guys who literally bought a sport. Yeah, they own golf now. So to all my American hipsters and bandwagoners, get in on the ground floor now, because this team's stock is about to go to the fucking moon. And next up in the table are my beloved Red Devils, Manchester United. And they sit 5th in the table, 1 point behind Newcastle. And they opened their month with getting their cheeks clapped by Manchester City. How bad did it go? Personally, this was an early morning game over here in the States, and I went back to sleep after watching 15 minutes. They are just a different multiverse apart in quality from Manchester City right now. But they did respond well to finish off the month with 3 wins and 2 draws, including a really impressive domination of Antonio Conte's Tottenham. Erik ten Hag has figured out the squad that he likes. And while it hasn't been pretty all the time, considering how hopeless they looked at the beginning of the season, this is the first Manchester United, probably since Sir Alex Ferguson, that seem like they can go tactically toe-to-toe with any manager in the league. Their new diminutive center back, Lisandro Martinez, has already established himself as one of the better defenders in the league. Marcus Rashford has gotten over his mental health issues and is banging in the goals again. But the big story at the club has been around their once beloved son, Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo was always going to be a square peg to fit into the round hole Ten Hag needed for his system. And after a dreadful start to the season, Ten Hag made the difficult decision to drop Ronaldo from the starting lineup. And it was the right choice. Manchester United have been playing far better ever since. But coming off the bench is a tough pill to swallow for a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. So much so that the Portuguese Adonis refused to come on as a substitute in the 2-1 win over Tottenham. In fact, he stormed off the pitch into the dressing room before the match had even ended. This was in front of all the public to see. And all anyone could talk about for the next 2 weeks was, well, why did he do that? Was that okay? That seems very rude. Now Ronaldo has since apologized and said all the right things, but he was given a timeout by Ten Hag, dropping him from the squad entirely versus Chelsea. Now, he has come on since, and he even picked up a goal in Europa, but Ronaldo does not seem like a player who wants to be here. He famously tried to leave the club during the summer, but no one would take him. And at the age of 37, he's just not the same player he was. But at this point, it's probably prudent for both sides to just make nice until the World Cup and see where the chips fall after that. Now sitting 6th in the table are Chelsea. And the Graham Potter era has started off all right at Stamford Bridge. Up until this past weekend, he had remained unbeaten as Chelsea manager. But here's the thing. Unbeaten does not mean the same thing as winning. There were a lot of draws mixed in there. But to his credit, he has stabilized his team to 6th and well within striking distance of the top 4. And he also has won nearly every single Champions League match that he's been a part of. But that was good enough to put Chelsea top of their group. And with this being Chelsea, you never know. They might just make a Champions League run in a season where their domestic form is sus. They've done it before. Now, there's still a lot of the same problems that remained from the Thomas Tuchel era. Potter is still trying to figure out where the goals are going to come from consistently. But he might have found something in his keeper Kepa, whose form has just been sensational under new boy Graham Potter. Well, that was until this past weekend where he had a nightmare first half and then was taken off due to a foot injury. Not great. Now, there are a lot of moving parts right now at Chelsea, so I still have questions about this club. Is this generally positive form just a part of the new manager bump, or is this the start of something to build on for the rest of the season? All I know is, I just hope Christian Pulisic gets more run. Come on, man! He needs to get sharp for the World Cup. Graham Potter, I will gargle your hog if you would just start Christian Pulisic a couple more times. Now, he did get a start this past weekend, and it was great. Before that, in his last 2 appearances, he got a goal and assist. Yeah. And Graham Potter has rewarded players that have gotten results, with Chalobah and Kepa winning their starts after good performances. And with Raheem Sterling's form just being okay, we could see a little bit more Pulisic in November. Now, you might be noticing up until this point a really big name missing, and that's because Liverpool are eating their own asshole all the way down to 9th. They've just been a fucking mess this year. Their form in the Premier League continues to be Jekyll and Hyde. They started out the month drawing 3-3 to Brighton, and then losing a tight game to top of the table Arsenal 3-2, only to then knock off previously undefeated Man City 1-0. Where did that come? I don't know. But they followed that one up by smashing 7 past Rangers in the Champions League, and fans were starting to say, all right, Liverpool got their mojo back. They did not, in fact, get their mojo back. Because the next game, they lost to bottom of the league fucking Nottingham Forest. And to add insult to injury, they followed that up with another L versus relegation fodder Leeds, United States of America. More on them in a second. I thought that when they got healthy, this team would get right back on track. But here's the thing, they haven't been able to shake the injury bug. In early October, they lost Luis Diaz, and he's going to be out until after the World Cup. And even with the likes of Andrew Robinson returning, their defense has just been shambolic. At this point, a training cone would offer more defensive cover than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Even Speed is giving him shit to his face.
Oh! Let's go!
Yeah!
What are you doing? He defended it! Let's go!
And then there's the newborn Darwin Núñez, who might be the dumbest player in the Premier League. Honestly, he should have his IQ tested after this boneheaded decision. Just look at this. There was only one wrong decision in this scenario, and he took it. And he's been just as Jekyll and Hyde as his team, honestly. He can miss an open net and then turn around and score an outrageous chance. And I get it. I understand that he's finding his feet in a new league. Yeah. But this is coming at Liverpool's expense, man. He's costing them points. And now they sit 9th in the table with hopes of a league title all but a distant memory. And it's just a shit sandwich. And at this point, the only hope for the season is to make a run in the Champions League, which, I mean, at least they qualified for the knockout stages. But beyond that, you know, maybe get their shit together and make a run at top 4. At this point, I have no clue what's happening with Liverpool. They are walking very alone right now. And last but not least, I wanted to give an update on America's team, Leeds, United States of America. And much like America, they've been having a shit time as of late. After getting off to a hot start to the season, Leeds' form torpedoed into the ground in October. They lost 4 consecutive games before somehow picking up a win against the league's punching bag, Liverpool. Jesse Marsch has been under immense pressure during this horror run, and many have been calling for his head. But the San Francisco 49ers leadership had given him a little bit of rope, and he just has to make it a couple more weeks before the World Cup break kicks in. I cannot stress enough how much that win against Liverpool saved his ass. But there is a bit of hope for our plucky Americans, because the underlying metrics for Leeds show a team that are doing enough to be at least mid-table, but variance, aka luck, has not been on their side. So if the analytics hold true, luck should swing back in their favor, and the goals and points should follow. Now, as of right now, Leeds currently sit 15th in the league table, but more importantly, it's only 1 point above the relegation zone. So this sounds a lot better than it is. And before this win against Liverpool, they would have been bottom of the league. So yeah, they're going to need a Ted Lasso turnaround soon. And even then, they just look like a team that's going to be scrapping just to stay alive in the Premier League all season long. But Americans consistently love one thing in sports. It's rooting for an underdog. And Leeds, United States of America still has plenty of that. And that is going to be it for my Clueless recap of the Premier League in October. We got 2 more weeks in November, and then be on the lookout for my Clueless guide to the World Cup. Thank you guys again for watching. If you did enjoy, go ahead, smush your nipple into the like button right now, or if you hated it, go tell me to go fuck myself in the comment section. Also, I'm looking for editors to do NFL, NBA, and some footy action. If you're a talented editor out there, go ahead, hit me up at BMOnus on Instagram and show me some of your work. And of course, I'd like to thank all my patronos keeping me alive and well, and help getting these videos out quicker. And yeah, this pretty much can be it from me, BMOnus. And as always, America.